So I'm going to be talking about these books and NOS4A2, which it's actually pretty interesting. There's and then the acting's not great and stuff like that, but there's some. I like the opening sequence, the part where the image of the eye is. Did you bring your hot water bottle?
The top came off or something. Leaking all over the place. So.
Oh. Okay. Anyway, with the map on the eye, I like that, and I think it's an interesting idea of people moving so fast that they tear a hole through reality or whatever with a knife, which is, so there's a bit of witchy sort of terminology in this, and it's a vampire story though, but a very different take on a vampire story. So anyway, it's worth watching. Wouldn't you say NOS4A2 was entertaining enough?
I didn't see that much of it, but you seemed to be scared by it or something, or you seemed to enjoy it. So.
It was okay. Anyway, Principles of Brewing Science is worth reading if you want to be making your own beer and stuff like that. The guy, the picture on of the guy on the back, he looks like he really enjoys his product. He's very happy looking, and so that amuses me just all on its own. Now, this essential aromatherapy garden, not really that much about gardening, honestly. There's, rather than putting the zones, I suppose, because then it could be marketed in both Europe and United States and stuff, where they have different zone categories for numbers. I don't know why this stuff is not, it amazes me that we still have metric and imperial measurements and stuff like that. Just pick one. Honestly, people will adapt. So anyway, the instructions are like, well, I picked one that doesn't have the instruction that I was going to try. I was just going to flip open and say, like this. And it didn't work out that way. So usually, anyway, when there's the description of the plants, there's different things, like I'm at rosemary here. And there's a little note that says, avoid this herb during pregnancy, not to be used by epileptics. Who knew, right? She did. But the notes are very small. They're just a little postage stamp size on every page. And honestly, these things are quite important. You'd think they'd be in bold and red or something, right? But every plant usually has a will survive to minimum temperature of da-da-da-da, which I'm not seeing here, which it's only going to survive in warmer climates anyway, rosemary. So if you want, you can grow it as a house plant, as a bonsai, and just clip off the stuff as you go and eat it. Anyway, but it needs a very sunny window. But very attractive and aromatic, so nice house plant. Anyway, there's recommended species, aromatherapy applications, drying and decorative uses, culinary suggestions, and then health-giving properties. And what I'm more interested in is the health-giving properties always. Now, I did mark off pages 38 and 39 to talk about the recipes here, which are really interesting. I mean, there's rose petal wine, which I hadn't heard about using rose petals for wine until this book. And then I think I also read it in the medieval one, but I can't remember for sure. Anyway, page 72 and 73, I enjoyed the different groups of, like, the flower types, leaf type, woods, whatever. I enjoyed that quite a lot. And there's some other recipes in here that seemed interesting, and the book's worth reading. So, anyway, there. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about this medieval thing. Now, we're having a roasted red pepper soup that was given to us by the food bank this week, and it's a powdered thing. It was in bulk. And then I brought it home and I noticed the second ingredient was something like corn syrup something, and I'm like, ah. And I taste it now and I'm like, not even worth it, because it has hardly any flavor. But I'm serving them inside pumpkin halves, so at least we have the flavor from the pumpkin. But honestly, I'm very thankful for it because it was given to us. And actually Friday when we went, there was so much food, and we had to pack it home because we don't drive the car in this kind of weather. But James just drank some green bell pepper juice, and I did that so that I'd remind myself that I wanted to mention that. I think a lot of the time when you buy, say, roasted red pepper soup mix or something, and it's a powder, and I'm not so sure that it's actually the full red pepper. I suspect what they've done is juice the red pepper, and then the pulp has been dried and made into a powder and then made into soup, because honestly this soup has no flavor. And I find myself doing that a lot. Once you start juicing a lot, you're like, oh, I can't stand throwing all this stuff away. So then you end up drying it out and finding other uses for the pulp, or just finding other uses for it. So if you need to store it, it's easiest to dry it, and you can do that in the dehydrator or in the oven, just like my oven with no heat on because it stays warm, or in the oven in low heat if you don't have a old gas oven like mine. And you can reuse these things. But I would never, ever, ever, since doing all this juicing, I would never buy things like this, like the pre-made processed foods sort of thing, because I just expect that that's what they're using. They're just using the pulp, because if you can sell people the pulp, why not, right? So the medieval book I'm going to say right now was definitely worth reading, because I can see James is cold and he's going to go in soon. Lettuces are a cold nature. This is page 34. Pounded up with salt, they cure burns if they're applied before blisters appear. Garlic. It vigorously wards off every harmful condition to which human beings are prey. When taken with honey, it heals the bite of dog. Cooked in sweet vinegar, it kills tapeworms and other animals which infest the bowels and drives them out. Poppy. The leaves cooked and mashed up with oil of roses are excellent as an application for joint pain. Who knew? Basil. Those who are critical of basil list its faults. It harms the stomach, weakens the eyes, causes madness, and damages the liver. That is why goats never touch this herb. But those who are of the opposite persuasion claim that these accounts are false. Quite the contrary, basil is beneficial for the stomach, because when it's cooked in vinegar, it relieves bloating by making one burp. It tightens up loose bowels. It eliminates worms when taken with shoemaker's blacking, which is blue vitriol or copper sulfide. Peach. Galen advises never, under any circumstance, to eat them after a meal, claiming that they will rot if they float on top of other foods. Crushed peach leaves kill and eliminate the animals that infest the bowels. Almonds make one sleepy, provoke urination, and bring on a woman's period. Dia amygdalon picaron is made with bitter almonds. It's indispensable in diseases of the spleen and liver, especially jaundice. It's made as follows: 2 ounces of almonds, 4 of gentian, 2 of anise, and 1 of black sea wormwood. Grind them all together and sift them. Give 1 spoonful of this powder in water. And I'm going to stop there because James is freezing.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about it later, but it's definitely worth reading, so put it on hold from your local public library.